Thanks for visiting the patient and the weather. Today I'm meteorologist Al Peterlin. I'd like to talk about the weather health stresses for June 3rd, 2026. We keep additional graphics available at tpatw.com. We're also maintaining a patient weather storefront on Amazon. Looking at the surface map for Wednesday, you can see high pressure dominating almost all of the eastern half of the country, but we do have that lingering front in the south all the way from really Dallas and west, all the way across New Orleans to Miami. Lots of unsettled weather along the Gulf, and note that we have that flow up the plains and lots of activity from Texas clear on up into the Dakotas and Minnesota. We also have that sort of waving front from San Francisco up into, call it Boise, and then on over up into Bismarck, with most of the weather activity there lingering right about western Washington into, rather eastern Washington into western Montana. Looking at our vitality index and trying to pick out those areas where individual weather elements will have an impact on human health, you can see we have something going on here in the Pacific Northwest. We have a spotty bunch of activity going on into New Mexico and on up into Colorado, but a very consistent area of something going on up the plains, and then a lot of activity here along the Gulf, and something pulling away from New England, mostly concentrated about Maine itself. Looking at pressure change, and there is not a significant amount of pressure change at this time with that large high pressure center already dominant, but we do have some rising pressure here along coastal Washington, Oregon. We have rising pressure, and that's pretty significant here across Alabama, Georgia, and Florida, almost all of Florida. Falling pressure here along the Canadian border with Montana, and then a larger area of falling pressure from eastern South Dakota across Minnesota, Wisconsin, the Michigan Upper Peninsula. Temperature changes are really not all that significant, as we have near normal to above normal temperatures across much of the country, but we do see some bubble warmth here along the northern border of Montana. We have a little bit of warmth still holding on here in Maine, and then we have cooling coming into the Pacific Northwest and a mishmash of activity here on the high plains. Dew point temperatures a little bit more defining, as we can see that we have rising dew points here up into the high plains in the Rockies, a little bit of diminishing dew points here in the southeast, and the vapor pressure just confirming it, showing some of that rising vapor pressure in the high plains to Rockies, and significant drop down here in the southeast. Our instability chart is a little bit more defining. As we can see, we still do have that flow moving up the plains, but it's interesting that we do have some instability up here, even into the northern plains. Looking at the change in oxygen availability, we'll look at migraine stresses, and that's pretty significant here across Oregon into Washington and really picking up Vancouver. We also have a significant risk migraine here in West Texas, moving up into the Panhandle across into Oklahoma, and then migraine stresses all along the southeast from Louisiana across Mississippi, getting more significant in Alabama, Georgia, northern Florida, but really continuing on with the migraine risk all the way to Miami. Looking at the asthma and arthritis stresses, we have some here in the northern Rockies, very significant across Montana, a little bit here in the north central plains, a little bit more about the Great Lakes, and significant in the New England area, but most significant around New Hampshire and Maine. Thanks for visiting the patient and the weather. Your comments are appreciated, and if you hurt, tell us where you're located.